and welcome to a special edition of World Insight coming to you from Boao, the tropical city of Hainan Province. The annual meeting of Boao Forum for Asia concluded on Friday, encouraging consensus for shared future, concerted actions, and common development. But how to translate words into action? Today, we are presenting to you two in-depth interviews to resolve that problem with two men of wisdom. Ban Ki-moon, chairman of the Boao Forum and former UN Secretary General, and Zhou Xiaochuan, vice chairman of the Boao Forum, who also is China's former central bank governor. They come in from different perspectives with immense knowledge and different but strong track records. First, my conversation with Zhou Xiaochuan, Chinese economist, longest-serving central bank governor in China, and a reformer. He's winning the 2019 Central Banking Award, provides some clue of his strong leadership and sophistication both as a policymaker and as an economic leader. As the vice chairman of Boao Forum, my interview with him started from what this platform can do. What can the Boao Forum for Asia and other platforms play their roles in communicating between China and the rest of the world? Mr. Vice Chairman.
I think that since the early of this century, Boao Forum has been already play very good roles in communication among the political leaders, economic leaders, especially the business community.
But Mr. Vice Chairman, the question really is, they heard, but whether they listened, those are two issues.
You know, it's depends very much on the media.
I know you would say that, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Surely, there's not only the media. For Boao, I think that this year we create, to some extent, better quality of annual report on the economic outlook, on the competitiveness ranking, on the Asia regional economic integration, and on the Asia financial market development. But surely I know that it's quite sick for media.
I'll go back and read it.
But you can read the digest.
I think you arouse a lot of interest and curiosities among our viewers about that specific report, Mr. Vice Chairman, by saying so. Now, since you talk about this is not only for Asia, it's beyond, but many of the Asian economies have already become global ones. Mm-hmm. And the lessons and experiences from these economies are extremely important. Japan, for example, people recently have been talking a lot about what can we learn from the lessons of Japan's so-called lost decade.
Each economy should try to avoid the serious bubble, either real estate bubble or financial market bubble, or the other kind of bubble, because nobody really knows what kind of a bubble. Theoretically and practically, it's very difficult to completely avoid the bubble. When you have a certain kind of bubble, hopefully it's not very large bubbles. That's when the bubble bursts. You need to learn the skills how to deal with that process. Not to create too much panic, too much pains, try to avoid mistaken policy making, and to reduce those of painful adjustment. A lot of skill in this regard.
What are exactly some of those skills?
It's mainly in terms of fiscal policy, monetary policy, and that's the regulatory changes, which can, to assist the macroeconomic adjustment, rather than, to introduce a big freaks into the bubble. So actually, that's you need to consider those of structural reform, and you need a time to let the corporate sector, let the financial sectors to repair their balance sheet. It can be quite a gradual process.
Yes. There's always the issue of time, right? So how will economic policies, as you beautifully illustrated these, it has to be a gradual process. I noticed that you said every point with that emphasis, vis-a-vis the impatience of politics and the so-called immediate political wills these days.
It's different from country to country.
Yes, indeed.
So, fortunately for China, that our government has much longer views. We saw some of short-term behavior. So on the one hand, I think economic decision maker should have a very good communication with politicians. Try to reach a consensus. They don't have a fundamental conflict among each other, but when they look at the problem, they may came from a different angle. So especially some of the economic issue need a lot of macro and microeconomic knowledge. So it needed to have a good communication. Something is also related to the historical experience. So you need to talk about what the historical experience we have in our hand, not only about the specific country, but globally. Another is for those of difficult structure changes, you need to seize the window. So sometimes there is a good window, sometimes it's not. Partly it's maybe related to the domestic opportunities, but also it's also you should look at the international. The structure reform sometimes is difficult, but if you take correct windows to start it, it's easier to reach a consensus.
Are we at the window? China, for example?
I should say that, for example, now we emphasize that supply side structural reform. 3 or 4 years ago, we started to do that. Yeah, we got good windows. Recently, you know that it's some of more challenge appeared. One is the trade friction exacerbated. Hopefully, we can see some of positive solution to appear. Another is the global slowdown of economic growth. So it creates more difficulties. So the window may also change from time to time.
The trade frictions, Mr. Vice Chairman, many believe it's about confidence rather than the specific numbers on trade. So how do you look at the short term of maybe possible good result that both sides mutually agree upon, and the long term of this, the nature of relations between China and the U.S. and the nature that China is a rising economy and people are looking at it with a very different perspective now?
When I listen to the discussion in economist circles, they also emphasize very much the uncertainty. But not only trade negotiation, because we need to restore multilateralist global system. So we are waiting to see this, the WTO reform and the whether we could reach a better result of that or not.
It looks like a very dirty political fight, though, if you look at the different suggestions provided by different countries for WTO reform now.
So there's several tiers of uncertainty. I think that for this year, because of G20 meetings and the other urgency, 2 days ago, here is a panel on the WTO reform.
Yes.
And the participants talk about dispute settlement mechanism, which need appellate
body.
To play a very important role to that. So pessimistically, it's may dysfunction in quite soon. So we have urgency to do that.
As a big trading nation, what can China do? From your perspective, Mr. Vice Chairman.
I had some chance to join the forum or think tanks discussion on this topic. On the one hand, the precondition is to see China and the U.S. should reach some kind of negotiation result. The second, I think that for the WTO reform, we need to have a good preparation and the communication among the Ministry of Commerce and think tanks to really have a serious discussion that why the WTO, why the Doha round have difficulties to continue and to reach a good function. And then that's how many issues. Now there are several of very important issues. What we can do is that, frankly speaking, some of critics are actually directed to China, and whether China, not very much to the central government, but the local government or the other government body may have some remaining subsidy to the exporters or to the sectors. There are also the technology transfer, protection, intellectual property rights, state-owned sectors, those of issues. So I think China need a very serious internal discussion as to how to deal with that. We have a very important emphasis on multilateralism against the protectionism, call for not to have unilateralism. But how to participate the WTO reform debate,
right. And
that's what we can do internally to show our sincerity. That's not only ask the others to maintain the WTO, to maintain the multilateralism, but we also do what we need to do domestically to meet the higher standard of a global trade system. I think that's also important. Up to now, some of the European think tanks, Canada, I also saw that some of the Japanese are preparing their ideas for the input of G20 meeting on this topic. The Chinese side also have quite intensive internal discussion. I hope them can accelerate this process to timely provide that's what China think that the WTO is going to reform.
When you were serving in China's financial sector, encountered several rounds of difficulties. One of them was at the turn of this century, when China had about 686 billion, if I remember right, bad loans. And the country urgently need to have cash and urgently need to get the economy moving. So how did you and your colleagues in the Chinese government come up with the ideas, and how that idea eventually got things done?
As I said, that's when we talk about Japanese license, in the crisis or after the crisis, anyway, you needed to have a timely remedy of the financial sector. One thing is to repair their balance sheet. So they need to write off or split those non-performing loans and to recapitalize themselves. But a little bit complicated because it needs to have a concept of those of macroeconomic policy making and the skill of macroeconomic policy usage. One of them is so-called the national balance sheet. You need not only look at specific banks, they have a balance sheet problem, but you need to look at the national balance sheet to see what kind of resource you have, what kind of problem you need to deal with. In China, another issue is we need to get correct data. How serious is the problem? The data actually is in the accounting book, so we need also to use the higher standard of accounting to realize the size of a book and the size of a problem. Yes, you need also to see that in the process of recapitalization, after the writing off of those bad loans, the recapitalization, on the one hand, the government may have some resource to help, but we really need for the future for those financial institutions to have equity finance from private sector, from foreign capitals. So this is come into another big story, how at that time those things have done. Finally, there's one those of large financial institution got to be listed in stock market and had IPO fund resource to solve their balance sheet. Whether they can continue to maintain the quality of their balance sheet, whether they can really try to avoid another round of crisis, they need to have to establish a good corporate governance.
Right.
So that's the comprehensive things. And at that time, I think a lot of Chinese decision makers, central bank, Ministry of Finance, and the others work together to find ways to solve this problem.
That's Zhou Xiaochuan, former Chinese central bank governor and vice chairman of Boao Forum. Coming up next, my interview with Ban Ki-moon, chairman of the Boao Forum and former Secretary General of the United Nations. Welcome back. You're watching a special edition of World Insight coming to you from Boao Forum for Asia. This year's forum is the very first for Ban Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations, who begins his tenure since last year as chairman of the Boao Forum. As a seasoned diplomat and a global leader who puts issues like sustainable development and gender equity onto the UN roadmap, he is concerned now about a world with rising unilateralism and lack of cooperation on many crucial issues like global trade system, Korean Peninsula nuclear issue, technologies and their social and economic impact. And here's my exclusive interview with him. Mr. Chairman, what a pleasure to see you here in Boao.
Thank you for this opportunity.
You said it very clearly a few years ago even. The preeminent logic of the 21st century is international cooperation. However, Mr. Chairman, I have to remind you of the rise of unilateralism and lack of international cooperation. What do you make of this fact?
I am deeply concerned about the current state of international situation where multilateralism is under threat. Unilateralism, protectionism, extremism, and all this individualism are now spreading across the borders. The multilateralism has been benefiting all the countries around the world, and particularly when certain countries who have benefited most from this multilateralism are now shying away from multilateralism. The United Nations really has to be strongly supported. In that regard, China is very much appreciated by international community when Chinese leadership, starting from President Xi Jinping, and her people, the Chinese people, are fully committed to keeping up the United Nations system, multilateral system.
Yeah, China is increasingly playing a role in terms of supporting the United Nations system by funding and some of the other ways as well. But Mr. Chairman, what about in the region, as the Boao Forum is about Asia and beyond Asia? Will Asia set a good example about multilateralism? That is the question, isn't it?
The Boao Forum for Asia was inaugurated 19 years ago, and it has been more or less confined as a scope of activities within Asia. But with the 21st century, when we are living in a small, tightly interconnected world, I think the Boao Forum for Asia should also go beyond Asia. And that is why I am very happy to see more than 2,000 people from all around the world are gathered here. More than 600 media, international media are here. That means Boao Forum is now expanding. But there are many serious challenges for Boao Forum for Asia. This is how to keep up with rapidly changing situation. As I mentioned,
as we speak, the things are changing all the time.
Yes, yes, and also in terms of technology and science, and then they are moving at almost at lightning speed. For example, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, biotechnology. There are many such new technologies. How these new technologies can really benefit and support our life to make everybody living in prosperous way. At the same time, I'm again concerned that there is a serious level of inequality among people and among and between countries. And this has to be addressed very seriously. And therefore, there are many agendas being discussed and debated within the Boao Forum. I sincerely hope that we will focus on this kind of very serious concerned issues. Yeah. How we cope with keep up with the rapidly changing situation.
Particularly when these factors are also intertwined. Yes. At the same time, slowdown of the economy, geopolitics, as well as the development of new technology that might replace human beings. You see different uncertainties around the world. Mr. Secretary General, or rather Mr. Chairman, in this sense, we have seen stability issue, peace and stability in Asia has always been on priority for many capitals in this region. But the DPRK nuclear issue is something close to your heart, but at the same time still unpredictable. Now, 2 rounds of Kim-Trump summit broke down. Mr. Chairman, how do you, as the former UN Secretary General and a seasoned diplomat from the region, look at that?
I think that not only Korean people, but the people all around the world were very much excited and were very much hopeful that there would be finally some lasting peace and security on the Korean Peninsula with North Korean nuclear development programs and nuclear programs discussed and solved. The recent Hanoi summit between U.S. President Trump and the North Korean Chairman Kim Jong-un didn't bring any concrete result. It was in fact...
with a walk away, so
yes,
called.
with walk away. That was quite disappointing. At the same time, we should not be always disappointed.
Why not?
Because we were able to see more clearly what are at stakes, what are the key points. I believe that there is not a clear common understanding on the term of complete denuclearization. I sincerely hope that North Korea and its leader, Chairman Kim Jong-un, will make some strategic decision that by giving up nuclear ambition and become a responsible member of the international community, then I'm sure that South Korea, China, Russia, United States, and Japan, and whole European Union, they will be fully ready to support North Korea. That is the most desirable situation. At this time, let us watch how the negotiation will continue. President Moon Jae-in of Republic of Korea has been playing a very important role, and the Chinese president and government, they have been playing a very important facilitating role with North Korean leader.
Pyongyang is looking for security guarantee. The security guarantee cannot be provided for its own, but rather coming from the other parties, particularly Washington. Now, there's accusations from both sides as to who is willing at all to do one step further, and whether it's parallel, as you may know very well. So what do you make of the next step also from Washington? Does it need to show?
There are several options and ideas have already been on the table, including cessation of war, end of war declaration, or even eventually peace treaty. But there are certain steps to be taken before this kind of a end of the negotiation solutions could come. Therefore, first of all, I think both the South and North Korean leaders and United States and North Korean leaders should get together and discuss more in real sense of commitment for peace and security on the Korean Peninsula. Chinese President Xi Jinping has been playing a very important role in facilitating some
better understanding.
Yes, it must be a further dialogue. I hope that there will be a continuous support and effort by Chinese government.
Yeah. Do you think that will be manipulated, the timetable, for example, for this discussion and the plan will be manipulated by election cycles in some countries?
I hope not. But this should never be never be used in a political benefit for any party. Therefore, these nuclear issues, peace and security issues, should be addressed in its own,
sake.
Yes,
for its own sake.
Yeah.
The other thing, of course, for Asia-Pacific region is the uncertainty about geopolitics regarding to China-U.S. trade negotiations. As we speak, Mr. Chairman, the two sides of negotiators are working hard around the clock to try to hammer down some kinds of end result. Now, we still do not know what it is. Mr. Chairman, as the chairman of the Boao Forum for Asia, how do you look at this latest development?
Now that China has definitely become number 2 world economy, and the trading is amounting to $600 billion, therefore there may be some source of frictions as both countries are now engaging in negotiation. I hope this negotiation will be solved as soon as possible. This may be a bilateral trade relationship, but it has a greater global implications and consequences, not only to Asia, but all throughout the world. Therefore, it is very important that this trade negotiation will come out smoothly to mutual satisfaction. As one lesson learning from this is that there are many different systems. Countries are taking a certain system, and other countries are taking some other systems. But it is important that all these trading activities should be governed by a certain global standard. I know that Chinese is very much committed through opening up, and I'm sure that there will be some smooth and mutually satisfactory resolution of this. Yeah.
China has been, since particularly the end of last year, putting out a huge number of opening up measures, for example, in the financial sector, and also the latest update of the foreign investment law, just to give some examples. But do you think, Mr. Chairman, economies here in Asia and beyond, for example, in the Asia-Pacific region, are going to take note sophisticatedly of the latest development and really grasp this opportunity? That's another question, because some momentum needs to be encouraged and nurtured.
When President Xi Jinping announced on the occasion of 40th anniversary of opening up of Chinese reform, the whole world were very much pleased and satisfied and commended such visions of President Xi Jinping and Chinese government, and that they would adhere and abide by all these governing international governance systems. And that was quite far-reaching, that has given far-reaching impact to international economic circles, particularly when President Xi Jinping announced that China respect the intellectual property right and also protect the foreign trading firms, their operations and business in China. This is a very, I think, open-minded and far-reaching visions.
And implementations as well.
Yes, yes.
That's been repeatedly emphasized by the Chinese government themselves.
Yes.
Asia is a vibrant region with a lot of trade discussions going on, whether it's bilateral, multilateral, RCEP or even CPTPP, different options all coming up. You also see things like Belt and Road, which is an initiative originally coming from China, but certainly discussed and widely in the world. How do you see these options? Will that provide Asia with more tools for development?
I do appreciate and commend the initiative of Belt and Road initiated by President Xi Jinping. This will greatly help, particularly those countries, developing countries. It is not just the hard infrastructure. So there will be definitely soft infrastructures. There will be road and railways or port established. There will be a lot of exchanges of culture and exchanges of people. So this is a very good idea. I'm encouraged to know that the Belt and Road Initiative is now being supported by many countries, including some European countries. We are living in a very small, tightly interconnected world. And there are many countries who really need sometimes technology and know-how and material support. This is what the Chinese president and government is now presenting to the countries along the Belt and Road Initiative. And I sincerely hope that this will really help the countries in the world, in the region, to really be able to benefit from here, so that we will be able to make the better world for all.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, before we go, one final question. I've been reading your speeches, both as the Secretary General of the United Nations and also as leader here in the region. I remember you said once, things are moving like riding bicycles.
Yeah, yeah.
You remain calm on the upper body and keep the movement. As long as you keep the momentum going, it will be okay.
Yeah.
But now, as the chairman of the Boao Forum, whether that momentum will be gathered and will be moving forward, that is a question mark in many's minds, not just about this forum, but also about the region as well. Mr. Chairman, your thought?
I'm confident that with the Boao Forum for Asia, this will really be able to help people not only in the Asian region but all around the world communicate better and understand better their concerns and how we can mobilize our resources and the strength together. We are living in a very small world, interconnected world. Therefore, it is important that we pool all wisdom and the strengths together. There is not a single country in this world who can solve alone. However powerful, however resourceful may be, we are living all in this together. For example, climate change. China has been leading, showing leadership in helping the Paris Climate Change Agreement adopted. Now, we really count on China's continuing global leadership based on global citizenship, so that all the people around the world can learn from Asian wisdom, Asian experience, particularly how China, during such a short period of time, have emerged as the second largest world economy. Therefore, let us use the forum of this Boao Forum here as the way we can better communicate widely and deeply, much wider and much deeper, to discuss the current global challenges. Yeah.
That's Ban Ki-moon, chairman of the Boao Forum and former UN Secretary General. With that, we're coming to the end of this special program coming to you from the Boao Forum for Asia in Hainan. On behalf of my team here in Boao and in Beijing, thanks for watching. Bye for now.